This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're taking a look at the Lumintop GT Nano, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So the shell here is made of aluminum. It's very durable, but still pretty lightweight. Without the battery, it's 18 grams, and then with the battery, it's 22. So just a very light flashlight overall, and the aluminum holds up pretty well. There are a few little, like where I've dropped it, you can see little nicks and stuff like that. But for an aluminum product, I think it's held up really well, and actually better than I expected it to. I've had aluminum products in the past that just kind of get chipped up and don't look bad, but just something to keep in mind. But no real issues on the exterior of this thing so far. The button is made from like a little rubbery material, and it actually is backlit. I don't think you can really see that because of our lights. You might be able to see a little bit of red there, but that's nice in the pitch black. You can see the little bit of red there, so you can find the button to turn it on to give yourself some light. That does mean it is constantly draining the battery, just ever so slightly, but it is a nice feature, especially if you're taking this thing into the pitch black a lot. The lens glass here is, I think lens is the right term, not exactly sure, but it's made of glass, not plastic, which means it does transmit light a bit better, at least typically. I think there are some plastics that transmit just as well, but it does mean it's a little bit more fragile, but no issues to report, no even really scratches or anything like that. And I have put this thing through the ringer so far, so happy with the lens there. This light does have an IPX8 rating, which means I believe you can submerge it for up to 30 minutes and it'll still work. I didn't submerge it for 30 minutes, but I did run it under the faucet for a while and it still was operating just fine. When you remove the back end here, the battery has a little gasket, so that helps to keep it working, and also with the button being rubber, it make sure no water gets inside. But popping this open real quick, we have a, let me make sure I say it right, 10180 Li-ion battery, which is 80 milliamps. So just a really small battery to fit inside this really small flashlight. And because it is so small, you don't get a ton of battery life out of this thing. I mean, you do get, a number of hours on the lower settings, but when you are using turbo, when you trying to really brighten things up, you don't get that long. You can get a larger 10440 lithium ion battery, and that gives you extra time, but you need to get a different back for it, and it makes it a little bit longer. So this thing is tiny, as you can see, but it does make it a little bit longer if you get that bigger battery. Or you can opt to get a few of these smaller batteries. They're pretty cheap. You can get them on Amazon and different sites like that. Then you just charge all those up before you go, and then as you're camping or something like that, you throw them inside of here, and you have all the light that you could possibly need in theory. So there are 5 different settings. We've got moonlight, which is 1.5 lumens, low, which is 30 lumens, medium, which is 170 lumens, high, which is 365 lumens, and turbo, which is 450 lumens. When you're on that turbo setting, that's where the power is really at. So you can go up to 300 meters, which is close to 1,000 feet. So that's, a couple football fields, especially if you take off the end zones. I think that's like 3 football fields or something like that. So you really can, this light throws a long way, and you can light things up, especially if you're, I keep going back to camping, but you can light things up that are really far away and kind of see things and find vantage points, so that's really awesome. So to turn this thing on, you just push this button once. You can't really see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to describe it. And if you keep hitting the button, it gets brighter and brighter. Or if you want to, you can just hold the button and it ramps up. Or if it's at the top of its range and then you hold the button, it ramps down to the bottom. Wherever you leave the power at is where when you turn the light back on, that's where it's going to turn back on at. So I like to leave it on the low setting, one, to save battery, and also so when you turn it on, if it's on the high setting, you're not blinding yourself or anything like that. If you just double tap this button, it goes into turbo mode off the bat. So that gives you all of the throw and the brightness that you need. Tap it once, it'll turn off, or if you double tap it again when you're already on that turbo mode, you get the strobe mode. So this is where things get a little bit confusing, because if you want to use the different strobe modes, you have to double tap to get into strobe mode and then quickly again tap it again to get to the different strobe modes. So it is a bit confusing and you don't get it every time. And I've been using this for 2 weeks and I'm still not getting it every time to get to the different strobe modes. And those are just nice for having the strobe so you can be seen if you're trying to be seen and things like that, but it can be a bit hard to get them. It does come with this little clip here, and it also has this little lanyard as well that you can attach. This lanyard, it goes around your wrist, but it doesn't tighten or anything like that, so I didn't love using it. For a while I had this attached onto the ring here, so I had the best of both worlds, but just wasn't really for me. When it comes to charging this battery, it is a little bit awkward. So you pop this off like this, and Then you have this little charging unit here, and then that attaches on like that, and then you can charge it using a micro USB. So that's the biggest downfall of this light for me, is that you have to go through that process to charge the batteries. But as I said, these batteries are pretty cheap, so you could just bring a couple of them, especially if you're well prepared and going camping or something like that. Bring 5 of these batteries and you're gonna be set for your whole trip. But if you're trying to charge on the go, you have to bring these little pieces, which you could lose, and obviously that wouldn't be ideal, and you can't charge the light anymore. So for a quick comparison, I've got the Nightcore Tiki here, which you can see is really about the same height. Obviously the Nano here has a bit of a bigger head here, but I'm gonna just blast through some specs real quick, and then I'm gonna talk about what I think each of these are useful for. So the Nightcore is 11.9 grams compared to 22 grams with the battery of the Lumintop. This one, they're about both 54 millimeters, so similar in that sense. This one is made of plastic with metal on the end, and the GT has aluminum, so it is a bit more durable. This maxes out, the Tiki maxes out at 300 lumens, whereas the GT maxes out at 450 lumens. The top throw on this one is about 70 meters, and that's where this one really shines. You get those 300 meters of throw, so you can really shine this thing a long way. This one has a micro USB port built in on the back here, whereas this one has that wonky kind of charging that we just talked about. So overall, I think that the Tiki is better for maybe someone who just casually needs a flashlight. Sometimes you might want something that's better than your phone, or if you don't want to use your phone battery. It is easier to charge it, so if you're going to be constantly charging it, you don't want to have to worry about different batteries and stuff like that. You can just plug it in. But I really do like this flashlight, especially for an outdoors person, like if you're going camping and stuff like that, because that throw is crazy and it's just so bright. And the modes are nice. This one does have, a couple extra lights on here, like the UV light and stuff like that. But I didn't really need those when I was testing it, so I just really dig this light, but you have to be prepared either with a way to charge it or those extra batteries. And you do get that durability, which I think is really key too. So there you have it, the Lumintop GT Nano. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you on the next one.